I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be doing this wonderful harvest time wreath. And this wreath is very inexpensive. I did it for under $5 and you even have some leftovers so you can make some more, and then they get real inexpensive. The first thing I want to do is my supplies are real simple. And I purchased all of them from the Dollar Tree. I had my poster board, my floral wreath, which is for flower arrangements, my fall or Thanksgiving ribbon, and then also corn husk that they use to make enchiladas, not enchiladas. Tamales out of. This is the reason we leave things live for you. You can see all the fun. It's not that easy when you're trying to remember stupid things like pencil in your hand. And the cheaper you buy these, the better I like them. And the one thing I do look for when I purchase them is that they do come to a point. And it's so much easier because they're already nice and ready to go than trying to pick your own and dealing with everything. If you cannot find them at those locations, then go to your supermarket, your grocery store, and look for them in the ethnic food aisle. You'll find some there as well. Now, and just remember, you do kind of want the tips, especially for this project, but you can also cut them if need be. Now, this will make tons of them, and we're going to leave them natural. So this, I don't know, 10, 20 out of this little bag. They just multiply once you open them, so they're very, very reasonable. And also our wreath, foam wreath thing here, we're going to get 2 out of it. So this goes a long ways and is really inexpensive. Now on my poster board, which you can pick up 2 for $1, so that's 50 cents, and you can get a bunch on that. I'm going to trace my circle, and I'm going to do the first one with the plastic on so I don't get as much green stuff everywhere. And then I'm going to take it apart and we'll draw the inside circle. So you just get that green stuff, so that outside one just saved us a little less green stuff. Okay, and then we're going to cut these out. And I'm going to magically appear with cutout ones. And I would probably go ahead and hot glue these on to here. What this does is it gives them a little bit more support, because we're going to cut this in half. And you could even do 4 and glue this other one on here, so it helps while we're cutting this, because it makes it more sturdy. You could use your poster board, or you could even just use cardboard, recycled cardboard too. There's no right or wrong on that. It just gives us a little bit more support, because it can be really flimsy. Okay, I went and got a bread knife, and there's a reason that I'm using that. You want a serrated edge, and you want one that's long enough that you can hopefully kind of get all the way across for it. And we're going to cut this in the middle as much as we can. And I didn't want to have this pre-done, so you could kind of see how I did it. And you do want to be a little bit careful with it, because you don't want to crack it and break it. And try and stay in the middle as much as possible. And you can see I'm moving it as I'm going. And this is going to give us a good base, and it's not going to be as expensive as the styrofoam ones in the craft stores. I think those are between $3 and $4, and here you're going to have 2. And don't worry about it being perfect. I'm all the way around now, so I'm just going to get it all the way through. And like I said, if you had your stuff on the other side, it's going to give it more stability. Okay? Alright, so we've got our wreath, and if you're like me, you're not going to have it all the way straight, And it doesn't need to be perfect, but we are going to put this top part on, so we do want to try and even it off just a little bit. And by putting this on, it's also going to keep you from getting this everywhere that we already don't have it. Just try to keep it less messy. And actually I wanted to use this part because I already have this one glued on. That's what happens when I think ahead. Okay, so I'm going to use my glue gun. And I am leaving it on high setting so I have a longer time period to get this on. Because if it was on low setting, it'd already be too cold by now. That is the reasoning behind that. And so I don't have to pick that up and touch it. We'll do it just like that. And there is our wreath to start with. Now, we're going to do some things a little bit different. We're going to cover this up with our corn husk first, and then put our design on. And another suggestion is when you're working with the corn husk, you may want to wear a mask. It has some kind of particles that get to you a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to pick out my pointed ones and leave those. And the ones that aren't as pointed, like this batch here, I'm going to use these on the side. Now for this, we do not want to wet them or anything like that. And we want this shape, and that's another nice thing about not dyeing these. We've got this nice shape already in, where if we wet them, we'd lose that shape a little bit. So I'm simply going to take some corn husks that don't have the points, and we're going to just glue this around the outside and the inside just to cover up our green parts and so it doesn't show. There is no right or wrong on this. If you wanted to cover it with something else, you can do that. But I did notice when I did my first one that those areas did show, so I don't want to have that happen again. And this is going to go real fast. It's not going to take very long. It's only going to take a couple pieces probably. You want to keep your back part. You either glue this down or cut that off. Keep it as flat as you can. But you want that on your door area or whatever. And I'm just overlapping it a little bit where that last area started to show. And you can either glue that top down or cut it off. If you're not comfortable with that part, cut it off too. In fact, that might lay down nicer if we did. Just cut it off. Piece is a little bit smaller, so he's not going to get as far. And overlap him because he wasn't as thick, so we got to make sure they're thick enough. Probably one more piece will do us, and we'll start on our inside. You're not worried about this being real pretty, you just don't want that green to show through. Okay, so we've got that part done. So we're going to do the inside now. Now remember, the inside, though it's smaller, is still as thick. So we want to remember that when we're working with it. And it's probably going to take maybe 3, maybe 2 pieces. Not a lot. You may want to keep your water handy when you're working with the hot glue. So if you burn yourself, you can put your hand in there. I'm going to use these for wreaths up on our speakers at Thanksgiving at church. You can make them for gifts since they're so inexpensive. And they have beautiful ribbon, Thanksgiving ribbon. I really like this at the Dollar Tree this year. Another thing we can do, and I may do some videos in the future, is change the colors and make it for Christmas. Dye the corn husk, and you could use dyed corn husk, and I did talk about dyeing the corn husk on the garland, fall garland video. Okay, so we've got that all prepped, ready to go. Like I said, it doesn't have to look pretty, we're just going to cover it up. So that's just our fun stuff. Okay, now I want to find my corn husk with the point on them. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around. And it's okay if it, this corn husk gets to me, is a little bit wider. You can kind of bunch it up. But you want to start on the inside of the wreath here and end on the outside of the wreath here. And sometimes if it's too big, you may want to cut that, but we're just simply trying to figure out which direction I want to go here, which is easier. So I'm going to go this direction. And we're just going to put our glue right there, and then put it on that one and put it on that one, and then you can just bunch it up in the middle as long as there's not too much of it. And then we're simply going to go about an inch and a half. You just want to kind of see how these lay from each other. You don't want them too close, but you won't want them too far, so that they lay nice next to each other. And kind of bunch that guy up. Find some more with points here. Remember I told you we can cut these too if they're not real pointed, which I'm going to do. Try to leave the natural edge as much as you can. We're just going to do that guy just like that. And we probably should have not used him because he's going to split. I'm just going to glue him under that piece. He's just going to continue splitting there. So we've glued him into a point. We cut this guy into a point. And see how fast this is going? This is not going to take us long to do at all. And you will be really surprised how many pieces are in your corn husk bag. It's really amazing. And I'm still just bringing these up about an inch and a half, depending on how evenly they lay up here too. You want to keep them about the same size and length. That way, if you're working with like a section of this, they're usually kind of all cut the same size. So that's good too. Now I want to show you here, when I'm talking about an inch and a half, see that one right there, and I'm going to lay that one right about there. They don't lay exactly straight, but right in here, it's probably about an inch and a half. On the side, you're closer to an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all the way around. Okay, I've come around this ways, and I did have one that was shorter, and when I put him, he was way down here, and he was almost up on this piece, but what you want to watch is up here, how far apart these are. So go by this, you can kind of adjust it here, but you want it to line up as you're going around. Now I wanted to talk to you a little bit about them being too wide as well. What you can do if they're too wide is just simply tear off a section on however wide you want to get rid of it. Some of them you could almost do two, and then it is even better, because some of these can be really, really wide. And we're going to continue around here, and we're actually going to go up under our first couple that we did to complete our circle. Let's see if I can get this lifted up a little bit. Sometimes when I'm trying to see and show you, there are two different things here. So we've got another one that's a little bit wider, and I tore him too much. And we've hardly used any of our corn husk. I've still got tons left. And some of them have these little holes in them, and I think those holes are really kind of cool. I think it kind of gives it texture or character or whatever you want to call it. Now, we're going to just start going up in here until we get the two of these matched up. We may need one or two more. And I'm going to kind of put it there and then glue it, at least on this side. I need it right about there. And then I'm going to go on this side and do it. And what happened when we didn't put the corn husk like we did with our first one, I had green showing through. So that's why we put that through. Some of these were shorter and didn't cover up all the way. And those corn husks cut on top. So I'm trying to find some a little bit more pointed. Cut that guy off. And we're going up in here. I think we're going to need one more after this one. So this is kind of like the hardest part of it, the whole wreath part. Other than that, it's really not hard. And it's nice thing is you could sit down and make this in an hour from start to finish. Okay, we're going to do one more in that gap there. And you know what? I might not even do that. I want to take a look. No, I'm still going to do it where my ribbon would go. But it still shows even with the ribbon. And if you need to cut some length off to get it in here, then go ahead and do that. And I think that's what I'm going to do on this one, because that other part is glued down a little bit. I'm just going to cut the bottom off just a tad. And that looks just about perfect there. So, glue that down. And then I'm going to glue this guy down from up here. Don't lose my spot. I'm almost to the point where I can't tell anymore. Okay, I am going to glue some of these just a little bit more in the very center. Just lay them down, but they're okay if they're sticking out a little bit, but you don't want them sticking out too much. And then we have our wonderful fall wreath. You could stick all kinds of fun things in this. There's all kinds of things you could do. I was playing around with some leaves. You could stick leaves up from the middle all the way around and give it that kind of fall look. That would be really, really pretty. Just do them all the way around the inside. You could stick some branches up. Just use this as your base and just start to think of all the fun things that you could do with it. What I'm going to do with it right now is I'm going to go ahead and put my ribbon on. And you can see we hardly even touched our corn husk. So you probably have 20 more wreaths. What I want to do is I want to look for the part that I think is the most has the most imperfections, and I think that is right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ribbon, and I do have a video on how to tie a ribbon if you're not comfortable tying a ribbon yet, and I'll put that up in the information on the video that's written when you click on the video. And I am just going to tie it around this wreath. And what I want to do is I want to use this little part right here and loop it so I have something to put a nail onto. Another thing you could do is take a soda can, the pop part that you pop open, and glue it here and use that as your back too. But see how much nicer that looks. And if there's any of this that's really open, go ahead and glue that down. And then what I did on mine is I took cattails and I broke them into, you want your middle one to be the longest, and 2 on each side in smaller ones, and just glued them right in. But this is just beautiful by itself. Another thing I forgot to tell you to do, and I should have done before I put the bow on, is I went outside and I spray varnished it. Just using any of the spray varnish. I use Krylon. Is fine, and that will help keep it nice and will also help with the bug, to keep the bugs away too, so that you can have it for a couple years to come. So that is our fall harvest time wreath. Jump on over and see the garland that we did this fall. It's really pretty using the corn husk, and I plan on doing a few of these videos. I've got the stuff in my that's why I suggest using the mask. But it's a lot of fun. It's really inexpensive, and I love the look of it. It just has a great fall feel to it. Jump over to my website at miriamjoy.com. There's a YouTube link that will take you over to all of the other fun videos. So at this fall and Thanksgiving time, we hope you are truly blessed.